the integral well-being from an Indic perspective, the way I try to show it is this understanding of, first and foremost, the relationship of the individual with the world around them, and the fact that if you focus on creating this sukha or this well-being inside of oneself and the various dimensions of sukha within, then one automatically starts reflecting wellness for the world around us. And also one becomes an important instrument of this generation, a source of light to everything around. How can one learn Sanskrit today? So many options. There are some in this group, Aruna Ji and all, who have joined my class that I'm doing on Sanskrit as a yoga and Sanskrit for yoga. It's a 20-year course that I've proposed of because online I have a series of lectures that are there called just join Anuradha's classes. So there are a series of lectures called Introduction to Basic Spoken Sanskrit. So this 20-hour course that I'm doing is a combination of looking at the philosophy, because every language has emerged from a philosophy. It has captured a certain worldview which it can give out to the people who are studying that language. And therefore there are non-translatables. Sanskrit has emerged from a certain worldview. So, and if one practices or if one engages with Sanskrit, it has the potential to release that most phenomenal worldview to anybody who is open and receptive to that. So I'm doing that, and I'm complementing it with this 10 hours of the online course simultaneously, so that the second level is coming up, a proper course is coming up on the 14th onwards. So if people can view this basic quickly, then they can join that intermediate, and by December, it's a 20-year course, you'll be really well positioned with the Sanskrit language. So if anyone is in a mood for a crash course for Sanskrit, then yes, please join the classes. It'll be good. Satyam. And Sanskritam itself is a tool of well-being, because samyak kritam, well done. That's what the language is. So it's refined and it refines.
There are a couple of questions for you.
Yes, please. I've got a lot of friends here. Abhay also. Yes, please.
Should I read them out to you?
Yes.
Okay. What can we tell on wellness to people whose life has been totally disrupted by COVID?
It's a very important question, I would say, in today's context. First and foremost, what I would say is that the option that the Indic worldview offers us is to either be a victim of circumstances or to be the master of circumstances. Under most circumstances, we are the victims of circumstances. And therefore, we experience suffering when there is suffering in the world around us, which is the dominant reality with the COVID situation, which is genuinely causing disruptions in people's life. Now, why what happens to individuals is part of a much greater plan that we know very little about. And what we have in our control, I would say, in that is how we are responding to that situation. So if there is, let's say, negativity, or there is a certain difficulty that is arising from the environment around us, the question that we have is, do we become difficult? Or can we work on ourselves to become solution providers? By solution providers, it could also include trying to keep a positive, finding that positive space within oneself and trying to ensure that those who are in difficulty don't sink further below. So I think it becomes very important. I think just this choice, one of the greatest freedoms of the Indic civilization is its attribution of choice to us in our lives. That we can really choose. And this is also not just, it is from the Indic civilization. It's a huge it's a huge thing, and I talk about this in the Sanskrit context, where I say that the Sanskrit language and therefore the Indian languages don't have the verb to have; they only have the verb to be. So the verb to be gives us a lot of freedom about how do we want to be in the situations we have, long and short of it. Okay, so how are we choosing to be? And there's a fabulous quotation by Viktor Frankl, who's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. He was a psychologist who survived 4 concentration camps, and he lost all his family members in those in that experience. And in every case, he was observing what happens to human nature under these extreme situations, extremely inhuman situations. And his conclusion, which is for me one of the most liberating sentences I've read in my life, he says that circumstance can take away from us all of our freedoms, but the last, and that is our freedom to choose our attitude in any given circumstance. So when we are faced with COVID, and it is a reality, the question is, do we sink or do we rise? If we have lost, sinking will not give us that back again. And if we also understand the interrelationship of the different gross and subtle worlds, we also are told by the wise, by the masters who are ethereal masters and physical masters, we are reminded constantly that life is a continuum. And if we suffer for the departed, we also make it difficult for the departed to move on freely. So that is one place that we need, if we want to um, contribute positively to the situation, then we have to allow a person to go. That is one. In the situation of our lives being disrupted, in terms of jobs being lost, in terms of not being able to do what we were doing, the question that one can ask is, first and foremost, the attitude that one can take on is that it could have been much worse. So just the idea that it could have been much worse can bring in a sense of gratitude, because there are people who have nothing. There are motivational speakers who don't even have their limbs and anything. And if people who don't even have their basic human, facilities that we think are so important that allow us to work, and they are making an enormous success of their life with who they are, then I think if we just rely on what we have and believe that the best will come, make the most of what we have, because in the worry of what we have lost and the anxiety of what we might lose, we are wasting what we have. And the make optimizing on what we have can happen when we focus on who we are. These are all quite important ideas that are that in fact COVID is forcing us to think about these things.
That's true.
Thank you so much. I appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then there are a lot of compliments, wonderfully explained with very well explained slides. Thank you so much. There's a question which is desire versus sukha.
So desire, very interesting. It's a very good question actually, because desire, the source of desire, we are not talking of the supreme desire that created the world. When we are talking here, I'm assuming that we are talking of human desires. So the very concept of desire stems from the experience of lack. So when we experience lack, then we try to fulfill it by looking outwards most often. And we try and fill that. So we try and fulfill a lack of being by adding having to it. And we believe that the more I have, the more that will get fulfilled. But there is an error in the logic itself. There's an error in the source finding, because the lack has not come because of what we don't have. The lack has come because of who we think we are and who we think we should want to be. So if you're trying to fill that with what we have, it will never, it's like a black hole. So the sukha, on the other hand, focuses on this fullness idea, bhuma. And how does that fullness come? So the focus of sukha is on generating fullness. And where is the ultimate fullness in the concept of sukha? The ultimate fullness comes from the source of who we are. From an Indic perspective, that if we stopped identifying with our limited, because it says that in our manifested reality, we are we are characterized by limitations at all levels. Physically, I have limitations. Emotionally, I have limitations. Mentally, I have limitations. So if I become this being of limitations, then I will never experience sukha. But if I understand that these limited instrumentations are opportunities, or rather, they are faculties to allow us to express a deeper reality of ourselves, then there is a greater chance of connecting to a source which which would fulfill, or which would which, if you can connect to that, then there is no question of a desire coming up. So the best desire, if I have to connect, the best desire is to find that source.
Okay.
The desire worth pursuing.
All right. So for all those who want to actually join the Sanskrit class, I will get the information from Anuradha ji, and I will post it on our groups. So you will have that information for the upcoming Sanskrit classes. There are just two more questions which we can take, and then we can close. There's somebody's asked, Subha Rao has asked, best advice for stress and conflicts in society these days. Why are there so many conflicts in the world?
If I have to give you in a nutshell, from a Vedic perspective, the whole purpose of creation symbolically was when light chose to hide itself and created darkness. And the whole game is, it is trying to discover light in the darkness. So the milieu in which we are working, the environment in which you're working, is naturally full of darkness and conflicts. You see, conflict is nothing when there is no understanding of oneself and the other. So because the environment around us is intrinsically of darkness, I guess that's why there is more conflicts as a nature. And also, I think conflicts, the other reason why conflict arises is when there is a strong sense of separation of individuals. The moment there is a strong sense of I, you, them, there, that gives rise to conflicts, because the moment there is an I, it has an encrusted layer of likes and dislikes and this and that. And when two likes and dislikes are not in harmony with each other, it is bound to create conflict. So again, the wise from all cultures have recommended to step beyond our limited notions of individualized preferences and aversions, and to try to reach out to the deeper connection in the other individual. So one simple way of overcoming conflict is also if one tries to step into the shoe of the other person. So if you try and step into the shoes of the other person, think, why is that person saying like that? Then it helps us to maybe soften our position and maybe make a step towards the other person, which can facilitate an understanding, mutual agreement. And how do you prevent the stress coming from there? Physiologically, the breathing is said to be a good one. Just getting clarity on a dhyana level concept is another big help. So if you have greater clarity on what is it we want, do we really want to be in a conflicting? Why are we in the conflicting? Is it because this clarity is that avidya and vidya thing that they talk about? You know, that just getting clarity, physically breathing better. If you believe in mantras, then the chanting of a mantra is good. Listening to good music is good if you just don't want to do something spiritual and just want to engage the mind in something more positive at that point. Exercising is good. So the range is wide, and depending on your requirement at that particular time, it can be addressed.
Okay, so thanks. We'll take the last question, which is from Maria Teresa. She's asking, can you change karma through sukha?
If you would like to just elaborate, because what would you mean, can you change karma through sukha? I'm not so sure I've got that connection.
Maria, unmute yourself and...
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Is it a thing of karma if you can feel sukha in this life, can you change that karma if you experience sukha?
Okay, very interesting. I think it's important to understand the term karma. So in brief, I'll just tell you what the idea of karma in again in a nutshell is. So the idea of karma is basically, it's a Sanskrit root. Karma means action, and therefore it also means the fruit of action, because the moment you do an action, its fruit is embedded already in it. If you take a particular step, you are already going in a particular direction. So the fruit is already there in the action. So what the karma theory says is very simple. So I'll give you an example and maybe from there. So if you eat an ice cream, so you're eating an ice cream, the brain registers, I like it, I don't like it. Okay, you're eating a chocolate ice cream. Eating a chocolate ice cream, brain says, I like it, I don't like it. So there's an impression that has formed. So karma is this eating. The impression is what we call the samskaras. When you have a samskara, the next time you walk into an ice cream shop, there will be a preference. If you like this chocolate ice cream, you will say, oh, I'd like to have it again. So there is a pattern, there is a neural pathway that has been formed, that has been reinforced because it has liked it, and it will take that. So you see, the moment you ate the ice cream, the eating of the chocolate ice cream or not eating it was already decided. So whether you can intervene is, yes, to recognize that whether you're working through an automatic mode or you're choosing to do something different. So in the situation of COVID, let's say, in the situation of COVID where one has experienced a difficulty, there is a normal neural pathway of a particular reaction. So if one understands that I am going down a regular pathway of a reaction, I'm an involuntary movement towards, I'm reacting involuntarily to a particular situation. Instead, you press the pause button and you say, can I exercise an alternative choice? So I can choose to think, like I said, or you tell yourself, can I choose to do it differently? So the vasana, the tendency would be of a certain kind, but then you choose consciously to act differently. And that choice of rising when everything around you is sinking is again what is represented by the lotus flower. And we'll do that, Loka Samasta has that one. But it's that Om Mani Padme Hum. Why is the lotus the symbol of the spiritual world? Because it grows in muck, and yet it's a very beautiful thing. It doesn't allow the dirt of the world to stick on its leaf, nothing. So I would say, if you want to connect karma and sukha, then the answer would be yes. If we can become like the lotus flower, where one is not bound by a default involuntary mode, but one chooses to act differently for one's greater good. And that greater good is for one's expansion. So the net result or the choice we have is either we have shrunk or we have expanded. The Vedas tells us very simply, we are investing with every thought, with every word, with every step we take. So you're either investing in shrinking or you're investing in expanding. Either you're investing in darkness or you're investing in light. So when we choose karma, present action that will take us towards light and expansion, then we are making karma go towards sukha. If we are choosing present karma to go towards darkness and constriction, we are choosing dukkha in our lives. So sukha and dukkha, which way we will go is determined by the karma that we take on now. I think that's a good note to stop on.
so much. It's a subject on which, you know, we can go on endlessly. It's a beautiful subject.
Thank you,
So
Raji.
thank you so much, Anuradha. And
We'll do a mantra. We'll end with a mantra.
Sure, sure. But can we do the vote of thanks and then do the mantra?
Astu.
All right, okay. So can I invite our program director, Sri Krishnapani K.C. Raju, to give the vote of thanks, after which we'll do the mantra and then I will announce the upcoming programs. Over to you, Krishnapani ji.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Beena ji.
The sun has risen, we can see.
Yes. It's just rising now here in San Jose.
Yes.
I'm extremely thankful and grateful to Dr. Anuradha for the wonderful insight she has given us about integral well-being. And it was really revealing to me about the etymological meaning of the term sukha. I never saw it that way, su and kha. And that's a beautiful insight she has given us. And, you know, the whole concept, she has taken us through a journey of self-discovery through this single concept of sukha, which is so enlightening. And it's, as she said, it's an inner journey for us, and it's expansive. There is no limit for this expansion. And I don't know whether the participants have seen the background of Dr. Anuradha. You know, that reveals the integral nature of well-being. It says, love every moment, laugh every day, and love beyond words. That's the background. It's written there. And that's a wonderful way of living, because living every moment is expansive. And laughing and loving, you see, these are things which are directly experiential and don't need any words at all. You don't need, I think for all the three, living and laughing and loving, you don't need words. Words in some manner appear to be aberrations actually in experiencing, and she has taken us through this wonderful journey. And I wish we have more and more sessions of Dr. Anuradha for discussion. And I think the participants should also take advantage of the Sanskrit classes she conducts, spoken Sanskrit classes. And it's a wonderful, you know, morning for me here. I have actually woken up to a new dimension of what is called as sukha. And I'm really grateful to her, not only on my behalf, but on behalf of all the participants and our organization, Rtambhara Wellness. Thank you so much, Anuradha ji.
Oh, dhanyawad. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishnapani ji. Thank you. And Dr. Anuradha, we'll wait for your mantra and then I will announce the upcoming programs.
Sure. Should I just put up the last slide which has the lotus and it'll look nice.
Sure.
Also.
Sure.
So we can chant it, we can chant it with that, which is Loka Samastaha Sukhino Bhavantu 3 times. And also, as we are doing it, I would like us to try and put in as much of integrity in ourselves to literally wish this excellent spaces in the world around today. So we can do an Om and then do it. Maybe once you repeat after me and twice we'll do it together. And end with Om Shanti, Shanti Shanti, because the tunes are different in different places. So just repeat once to get the tune correct, I mean, as I'm doing it, and then we can end. Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Together. Loka
Samastata
Sukhino
Bhavantu Samastata Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anuradha. And that was brilliant. And we hope you will do more sessions with us. We look forward to that. For the rest of the participants, we look forward to your presence.
Binaji, I just wanted to say the last slide is to become an architect, a self-architect of one's own sukha.
Okay.
That's an important idea also, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. Yes, you're absolutely right. Everything is inside of us and we have to chart our own destiny.
Yes.
Thank you. We look forward to your presence every week on Tuesdays and Fridays, where we bring to you interesting topics on holistic wellness and the arts, delivered by a host of distinguished, knowledgeable speakers. Our next talk will be on 8th September at 7 p.m. We have Mrs. Yoko Alender, who's a member of the Estonian Parliament, and she's a qualified architect and city planner and is a trained yoga teacher. So she'll be talking to us on yoga for mindfulness. We also have our usual Sunday yoga session by Umesh Dagachi at 7 a.m. and please join us. We'll be posting our programs on the groups and by email as usual. So thank you again for your presence and participation today from all of us at Rtambhara. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much, Dr. Anuradha. Beautiful session. Thank you.
Very much. Thank you very much to everybody for your kind words and being there. Thank you.